Hello and welcome to another episode of Snakes Territory. I'm Jesse Friedman alongside Jack Summers, and I guess the dust has now kind of settled, Jack. Rafael Devers is a member of the San Francisco Giants. People are starting to believe it. It is starting to sink in. Shohei Ohtani is making his season debut on the mound. There's another piece of big news that came out here over the last 24 hours. But we are excited in this episode to dive into your mailbag questions, one of our favorite things to do on the show. But first of all, Jack, any other reflections after a crazy night last night?
I think that the NL West, of course, is getting more interesting. It's also going to be interesting to watch just how the Devers situation plays out. I haven't seen an official interview with Bob Melvin yet saying exactly how he's going to use him and what position he's going to play. That may be out there already, but I've missed it if it is. And so those are developments that we'll look forward to seeing how they're going to handle that.
Well, without further ado, we have a whole bunch of mailbag questions to answer, so we are going to go ahead and dive in. Our first question comes from the basketball and football guy over on Twitter. If the D-backs were to be buyers at the trade deadline, what position do you think they would target, and what specific players would they target? This is a big one, Jack. We could probably spend the rest of the show on this question alone if we really wanted to. We won't do that, but these are big questions that the Diamondbacks are going to have to answer here over the next month. I guess we can start on the position side of this question before we get into any specific names. For me, Jack, bullpen is about as obvious as they come. The Diamondbacks will certainly need bullpen help if they decide to buy at the trade deadline. I guess the other categories that come to mind for me, Jack, are starting pitching potentially. Kind of a wait and see right now with what does Brandon Pfaadt look like in another month? Is Ryan Nelson able to settle in? Is Eduardo Rodriguez able to settle in? There are some questions to be answered there. And then the other thing that comes to mind for me is the DH slot, where Pavin Smith has not looked particularly great at the plate here for the last month or so.
I think you and I and almost everyone that follows this podcast and follows this team probably came up with the same list. And as you point out, like, things could change. I think if you're talking about today, if the trade deadline was next week, then those are clearly the three biggest areas of need, probably in that order. The issue with starting pitching is, like, if you target a starting pitcher, like you just said, whose place is he taking? But an injury could come up, and all of a sudden that becomes priority number one.
Right.
Right. If they lost another starting pitcher between now and the All-Star break, then we're going to change this list priority for sure. As far as DH is concerned, I think that it's been fairly evident over the last month and a half, almost 2 months, that Pavin Smith, unfortunately, hasn't really made the leap that it appeared that he had made from last September and into this April, which is not surprising. I mean, we talked about projections and regression to the mean. We certainly didn't expect that level of production. But the biggest problem with Pavin Smith right now is he's just striking out way, way too much. And when we look at what numbers tend to stabilize most quickly, strikeouts is right there at the top of the list. In other words, batting average, a guy could be hitting 350 or something, or 400. We know that may not represent, and very quickly will regress if that's never been the level that the guy's hit at before. But if you're looking for, is this new trend something to be paying attention to? Is this something that's actually going to stick? The quickest stabilization rate is with strikeouts. So the fact that Pavin's striking out 30% of the time, and over the last 2 months, well over that, is really concerning. Because if you're not putting the ball in play, then when your BABIP regresses, your batting average on balls in play regresses. At one point, it was over 500. It's still quite high, but as that continues to drop and the hits don't fall quite as readily, then he's in real trouble. So there is a real concern here with Pavin Smith. Those strikeouts are the issue. If he can't get that number down very quickly, they're going to have to make a move there.
Pavin for the season, Jack, is hitting 270, a 389 on base percentage, a 443 slugging percentage, which I think if you'd asked either of us entering the season, like, would you be happy with those numbers? Absolutely. But as you're saying, he did basically all that damage in April, and there hasn't been much to speak of since. I know his expected numbers over on StatCast are also kind of lagging behind those surface level numbers. He has a 223 expected batting average, a 399 expected slugging percentage. So that takes me to the other side of the coin here, Jack, in terms of what are some specific names that could actually help the Diamondbacks in that regard. And the first name that comes to mind for me in that DH slot is Ryan O'Hearn of the Baltimore Orioles. We are going to get into some All-Star Game voting updates later in the show. Ryan O'Hearn is the leading vote getter at DH in the American League as of right now. He has had an outstanding season. And do the Diamondbacks need someone like Ryan O'Hearn? Probably not. But it would be very fun to imagine adding Ryan O'Hearn to the middle of their lineup.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, it may seem ridiculous to be talking even about adding offense to the fourth best offense in Major League Baseball when they have the 27th ranked pitching staff. But, these are the areas, if you're looking to improve your ball club, and if you can lengthen your lineup just that much more. Remember, look, if you do get to the postseason, the pitching's all a lot better. And all of a sudden, you're facing the best rotations and the best bullpens in baseball the deeper you get into the playoffs generally. So, lengthening your lineup is definitely something that you would do if you had the opportunity. O'Hearn's not going to be cheap because there's simply going to be a lot of people looking to get him. I think going back to specific names, it really depends on who the sellers are and where teams are. Names that have come up: Gregory Soto, Hunter Harvey, Kyle Finnegan, Chris Martin if the Rangers decide to sell, Pierce Johnson if the Braves decide to sell. But it's too early to actually spend too much time diving in on all these guys. Those are rental players. And if you're talking about non-rentals, sure. Everyone that follows me knows that I had a love affair with trying to get David Bednar prior to last year's trade deadline. And we all saw how that worked out for him post deadline. I mean, he was terrible. And, he actually ended up getting optioned out at the beginning of this year. But since coming back, he's been terrific again.
Right.
And his stuff looks to be the same. He's under control through 2026. So that's the other part of the equation. Mike Hazen usually wants to get guys that have control. At least 1+ year or 2+ years or even 3+ years. So the more years of control you add, all of a sudden you're getting into a very wide range of players that we could be talking about here, and our show would be 2 hours long.
Yeah, we'll try to save you all from that happening. I think that Mike Hazen is in position right now to, provided the Diamondbacks are buyers, which is something we'll talk about more later. Certainly not for sure that they're going to buy at this point. We're kind of assuming that they will for the sake of argument. But if the Diamondbacks do buy, it feels like this is setting up for a Paul Sewald sort of trade that the Diamondbacks made back in 2023, where they were going to give up some assets and they wanted someone to solidify the back end of their bullpen, not only for the remainder of that 2023 season, but for the season after it. And when you have both of your two best relief pitchers, Jack, presumably getting elbow surgery, it makes a lot of sense to think beyond, like, if you just get a rental through the end of 2025, then come the offseason, you're going to have to find someone else to be your closer, your eighth inning man, whatever it is. So David Bednar, I think, makes a lot of sense. I don't anticipate the Pirates jumping back in the race, even though there's still quite a bit of time. So I think that's a name we might be talking about for a while. Dennis Santana is another name with the Pirates who has another year of control that we could talk about there too. On the starting pitching front,
keep in mind also, just continuing what you were saying, also Shelby Miller and Jalen Beeks are free agents
right
after this year, right? So not only are Puck and Martinez out, and it very much sounds like AJ Puck is going to have surgery. We're likely going to not have those guys at all next year or very late in the year. But the next two guys up are are free agents. So they really do need to get guys with control beyond 2025.
Well, that is a great segue into our next question, which comes from Mike Hill. He said, would you try to pick up an established closer and put Miller and Beeks in the 7th, 8th inning roles, or roll with Shelby and add several lower leverage arms? Jack, what do you think about this?
I think it depends on what and who is easiest to add. I mean, the higher up the food chain you get as far as dynamism and high impact players, it takes a lot more to get them, right? I mean, everybody's hoping still that the Cardinals drop out of the race and the Diamondbacks can get Ryan Helsley. And even though he's a rental, which contradicts what I just said, sure, that would be great. You get Ryan Helsley, you let those two guys set up, and at least for the rest of this year, you probably have a decent bullpen if everyone can still stay healthy. Big if, right? But again, if you're going to get a guy that has a couple years control, then you're really paying a hefty price. So who are those players going to be, and how much is Mike willing to pay? Is just questions that really we can't answer. I mean, you got to start going through that top 10 prospect list and say, okay, am I willing to give up Yumin Lin and Dylan Ray, or a couple of higher end pitching prospects in the system to get a reliever that's going to be around for the next year and a half or 2.5 years.
For as good as really both Shelby Miller and Jalen Beeks have been, Miller more so than Beeks, but both guys have had good years, I think it probably would behoove the Diamondbacks to try to add someone to the very back end of this bullpen. Shelby Miller's been great as the Diamondbacks closer. Don't want to take anything away from him there, but he has 10 career saves. Like this is a really new thing for him. And while he's been good at it, I think heading into a postseason race, it would probably be nice for you to have someone in that role that you really feel has a lot of experience there. And also, you and I have talked about this too, like Shelby's underlying stats. His strikeout rate is good, his walk rate is decent, but the underlying stats don't really support like a 1.5 ERA level of dominance. I think it's probably reasonable to expect a little bit of regression with him, as well as Jalen Beeks, even though those guys have genuinely had great seasons so far.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you see a guy with a 1.5 to 2 ERA, expect regression because nobody's peripherals support that unless you're Paul Skeens or somebody. Generally they just don't. So, but I think his peripherals are just below 3 or just above 3. So I mean, he's been very solid. He's been very, very good. And there's reasons to believe that he can continue to be this good. And it's also just a really fun story. I mean, talk about a redemption arc.
Oh, absolutely. I guess one other topic I'm interested in hitting here, Jack, is the importance of the D-backs getting a lefty. Obviously, they wound up doing that last year around this time with AJ Puk, and Puk was dominant down the stretch. And the Diamondbacks went from having really no reliable left-handed relievers to having one of the best in the sport. Jalen Beeks, again, has been really solid for them, but you kind of feel like that's something that, picturing a situation late in a game, potentially in the playoffs, you've got, a wall of big-time left-handed hitters coming up. Do you are you comfortable with Jalen Beeks being your go-to guy in a situation like that in the 7th or 8th inning or whenever it happens? It might be nice to make an upgrade there.
Or Kyle Backus, for that matter. I mean,
yeah.
he's looked okay. He's looked pretty good. And another nice story for the Diamondbacks. I mean, undrafted free agent and all that, and hardworking guy, and he's done well. I mean, it looks pretty good. I mean, there was never really any doubt in my mind that Backus could get outs in the major leagues, but is he going to be the guy that's going to be able to get Shohei Ohtani in a playoff game?
Right. Yeah. That's a lot to ask of someone who's, at that point has a few months in the majors for sure. So yeah, in a perfect world, the Diamondbacks maybe add a couple of high leverage guys and it shifts Shelby Miller and Jalen Beeks, down the food chain a little bit. But as you said earlier, everyone and their brother is going to want high leverage relievers at the trade deadline. So getting two guys is certainly going to be a tall order there. So yeah, we'll see how all of that plays out. We have a whole bunch of other questions to get to with regard to the trade deadline, along with a whole range of other topics. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break here on Snakes Territory.
It might be that time. If you're looking for a new car, there's one place to go that is going to take care of you, and it's Car Gurus.
Yeah, looking for a car should be fun, not exhausting. Everywhere else, it's exhausting. You're dodging people. You're trying to just, can I look at this car? Car Gurus, you type in your search, you find the color that you want, it narrows it down for you, and all of a sudden you're like, this has been an exciting experience, and you got a great deal.
With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more car listings than any other major online automotive marketplace in the US, so you can find the best deal. It's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.com. Cargurus.com.
We are back here on Snakes Territory answering your mailbag questions, and our next one comes from Bo over on Twitter. Bo said, why buy at the trade deadline? Giants got Devers, Padres getting King and Darvish back this month. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. With your three best arms, Burns, Martinez, Puck out, and a bottom farm system and 6 upcoming free agents, what exactly do you expect to happen? Capitalize on a buyer market. I think Bo probably means seller market there, I'm assuming. But I think it's a fair point, Jack. We talked about it a little bit in our Sunday show that the Diamondbacks, if they did decide to sell, they would really, I don't want to say they would control the whole trade deadline, but they would be in an advantageous position, and they would have a whole lot of teams calling them about a whole lot of guys, and they would be well positioned to really restock their farm system, maybe pick up some guys who are major league ready. There's a lot of benefit to be had there.
I think when Mike Hazen was speaking the other day and talking about the risks and the uncertainties of trying to be a seller and what you might expect going, how unpredictable, prospects and quote unquote major league ready players are. I almost felt like he was answering me because I've been, repeating very much along the same lines as what Bo said, which is, this is a unique opportunity for the Diamondbacks to have this much sell power. And being able to get, quote unquote, the proverbial haul, so that's certainly a valid point that Bo has. And, the competition is stiff, but, we're not the GMs, right? We're not making the calls. And the GM that runs this team, he's a very, very competitive person. He doesn't quit. He likes to fight. He likes to compete, and he's going to push it as far as he can. But, if you listen to him, if you listen to what the owner said, it's going to take, you got to wait and see how it plays out over the next 30 days. The Padres haven't played good baseball the last month. The D-backs just took a series from them. It's not beyond the realm of possibility with a soft schedule that all of a sudden, the D-backs pass the Padres and pass the Cardinals and pass the Brewers, and all of a sudden they're right there. 5 games over 500, and if not in the third spot, right outside it. That could easily happen over the next 30 games. And so you just got to wait it out and see what happens. But if they end up, losing 20 of their next 30 games, then you turn around and you capitalize on the fact that you have all these free agents and you go get the haul that you can get.
And I'll just add that something Nick Bacoro said when he was on the show a few days ago is that maybe the most likely outcome, it's certainly going to depend on where the Diamondbacks stand in late July, but a very plausible outcome is the Diamondbacks doing a little bit of both, trying to capitalize on maybe selling a player or two if they get really compelling offers for someone, while maybe also trying to pick up a reliever or something like that that could help them at the same time. So it's possible we see the Diamondbacks explore a mix of things when all is said and done. Looking at the Fangraphs playoff odds right now, Jack, I have this pulled up just for fun. The D-backs are at 35.5%. So Fangraphs is giving them basically a 1 in 3 chance of making the playoffs. And you have to feel that, that percentage maybe dips a little bit in the last 24 hours as Rafael Devers is now a member of the San Francisco Giants. Whatever the Diamondbacks do this deadline, I don't think they're going to do anything of that magnitude.
That's already included. They've already put Devers in their rest of season
Sure.
depth chart projections. So it was 37%, and then it dropped 2 points with the addition of Devers. And just back to Devers real quickly. It's not straight chalk gain for the Giants, right? They're missing Matt Chapman with his 132 OPS plus for the next 3 to 4 weeks. And if Rafael Devers ever steps on the infield dirt at any position, he's a net negative on defense, and it's going to cut into some of the increased offense that he gives them. So he's going to help them. Don't get me wrong, and this comment is probably going to come back to bite me as soon as they play the Giants. But it's not pure gain with Devers, and who knows how the clubhouse fit is going to be and all of that stuff. So we'll have to wait that out and see what happens.
Something we didn't mention in our show on Sunday is that I believe the Giants are playing the Red Sox like this upcoming weekend. So I'm sure that will be just an absolutely insane series. Be fun to watch. But yes, getting back to our mailbag here, our next question comes from Jordan Brimley. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. Why do you think Torey keeps hitting Pavin at DH with all the struggles and not giving Grichuk a chance, despite him having solid numbers last year versus righties? And I think we maybe addressed this a few weeks ago at this point, Jack, but understandably the question is coming up again because Pavin has kind of continued to struggle and Randal Grichuk just continues to sit on the bench game after game after game. It feels like the D-backs are not facing very many lefties and poor guy is just kind of sitting there right now. But yeah, I mean, I think Grichuk has reverse splits even this year too. It's a very small sample size because again, he's hardly been able to play. But yeah, I can't say I'm surprised the Diamondbacks have taken this approach. We're just kind of sticking with Pavin here, but I understand the question.
Well, I think, again, this goes back to, the front office creates the roster with a usage pattern in mind. And I know that if Torey just said, you know what, I'm benching Pavin Smith and I'm playing Randal Grichuk regardless of right, left for the next week every day, he would run afoul of Mike Hazen and Mike Fitzgerald. I mean, that's not how they designed this roster and not how they wanted to go. Now, could he do it once in a while, a couple times here and there, and not put his job at risk? Probably. And I would even be equally curious to see. I don't have a lot of confidence if Randal Grichuk played frequently against right-hand pitching that his reverse splits would even come close to holding up. There's just too much track record. He didn't change that much. I mean, you have to be fair about this and look at everything that happened before, and then look at how small the sample size is last year and this year against right-hand pitching. It's a small sample size. His entire career tells you that he doesn't hit right-hand pitching all that well. Now, do you want to give it a shot and say, well, maybe he's figured something out? Maybe, it's not just a small sample size fluke. Sure, give him some run. I would give him a couple starts. I really wouldn't have a problem with that. And I think that it's a good idea that they should try. But just keep in mind, when they signed Randal Grichuk, they signed him to be the DH against left-hand pitching. That's specifically what they told him. And that decision came from above, not from Torey. Torey didn't sign him, and Torey didn't create the roster. Can the manager just pencil his name in the lineup? Sure, but just keep in mind, before and after every game, there's front office personnel sitting in his office waiting for him.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, last year, Randal Grichuk hit 242, 274, 527 against righties in a sample of 95 plate appearances, which Yeah, 95 plate appearances, to your point, is such a small number that it's not really going to change, what happened in the thousands of plate appearances prior to that in his long career. And also a 274 on base percentage is really low, frankly. It's not like he got on base really at all against righties last year. He just,
Had a
had a
couple
bunch of
extra
extra
homers.
base hits. Yeah, he had 13. He had 22 hits last year against righties, and 13 of them were extra base hits. 6 of them were home runs. And I don't know if you're really expecting something like that to happen again. So I understand where the Diamondbacks are coming from there. I don't find it egregious that Pavin continues to play. I think that's the reason that Pavin is on the roster, is to be your DH against righties, and either he can do it or you reach a point where you feel like you can't, and maybe you want to go a different direction like we were just talking about a few moments ago. But as long as Pavin is on the roster, I don't really have an issue with continuing to run him out there. Maybe Randal Grichuk should get an opportunity in the outfield every now and then, Jack. Like, it's not as if Lourdes Gurriel has a sparkling track record against right-handed pitching. And so, maybe that's a route to get Randal an opportunity every now and then as well. I think something occasional like that, you and I are both supportive of that.
Yeah, I think the other thing too that we need to mention is that it looks like Adrian Del Castillo is kind of getting hot in Reno. He's hitting a lot of home runs.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And so, there's every possibility that if Pavin continues to slump, they'll bring Del Castillo up and let him go ahead and grab some DH at bats. When we spoke to Mike at the winter meetings, he flat out said that they don't have the intention to bring him up as a DH, but he didn't rule it out 100%. He said anything could happen, but heading into the season, that certainly was not on their drawing board to have Adrian Del Castillo be a DH. So things change in baseball, and don't be totally shocked if Pavin slumps another week or two, and all of a sudden Del Castillo gets the call. That could happen.
Del Castillo in 5 games since joining AAA is hitting .294 with an 1105 OPS and 2 home runs. So not a lot of plate appearances there yet. That's like 20. But I don't think there's any question of if Adrian Del Castillo can hit in AAA. It's, in my mind, he's even in a completely different category than Jordan Lawler, where he put up really impressive underlying numbers last year, and of course we saw it in the big leagues as well. So Del Castillo is certainly a name to keep an eye on there. Moving on to our next question here, shifting over to the prospect side, a question that I don't know if we can really answer here, Jack, but it is a good one. Black Sox 96 over on Twitter asked us, when is JD Dix going up to Visalia? He's been putting up very good numbers down in rookie ball. Of course, Dix was a high draft pick for the Diamondbacks just a year ago, but he has yet to actually go out to a minor league affiliate at this point.
Yeah, I put out a feeler to the Diamondbacks. I haven't gotten a response yet. I probably was a little late to send that out and request, so I don't have any kind of official answer on that. We can make a comparison and surmise that he may be getting pretty close to getting that promotion.
Yeah.
Last year, Demetrio Crisantes played 30 games in the Complex League and then got bumped up to Visalia, where he played 64 games, I believe. So, there's a possibility. You look at a fellow like Dix, he's now played 30 games in the ACL. So it may happen pretty soon. It wouldn't shock me at all if within the next, 7 to 10 days he got the bump.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, Jack, but I don't think the Arizona Complex League even continues for all that much longer, right? I mean, we're in mid-June at this point, maybe another month. I don't have that in front of me.
I think they play 50-something, 60 games. I think
Okay.
I have to double. I think it's 50.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe it's that simple where they're just going to finish out the Complex League, and then at that point, Dix, as long as he's healthy, they'd send him out to Visalia to finish out the year.
You stumped me with that question, and I know one of our listeners, I think I even know which listener is going to correct me on this, and I'm waiting for it, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that does feel inevitable. I think I know which listener you're talking about as well. But yes,
Come on,
JD.
buddy. Come through for me.
JD Dix this season, just so people know, is hitting 345 with a 904 OPS. That's in 139 plate appearances in rookie ball. D-backs selected him out of high school, 35th overall last year, shortstop prospect. So really, really interesting switch hitter, someone that we could be talking about for a while as one of the better prospects in this system. So a name to keep in mind for sure. We have a couple more mailbag questions to get to. Then we're going to talk Blue Jays series as well as some All-Star game voting updates. All of that coming up right on the other side of this break.
It is summertime. We are in the thick of golf season. It's always golf season down in Florida, but we're in the thick of golf season across the country, and someone's looking to get a new club. That logo should say it all. PXG. What do they do?
Go get fitted. Mm-hmm. Go get fitted by one of their master fitters, professional fitters. I've done it. It's helped shave many strokes off my handicap. It is worth it. It's educational. You learn about not only clubs, you learn about shafts, you learn about grips, you learn about angles. They have all the numbers, all the setups that you need to help improve your handicap.
You feel like a VIP when you're there.
100%. They even help my putting, which needed help.
Mm-hmm. They help your putting there. That's how cool it is. So schedule your fitting today, and for a limited time, you could save up to 20% on your entire order. Head over to pxg.com/foul. That's pxg.com/foul to save up to 20% on your entire order. pxg.com/foul. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
We have just a couple more mailbag questions here, and we're going to start with Jeff Irving, our good friend over on Twitter. Who is to blame for this team's inability to pitch, keep pitchers healthy, and develop quality pitchers despite firing Strom and signing Burns and other free agent pitching depth? This team's weaknesses are the same as last season. Is there a deeper organizational issue at play here? It's a great question, Jack. I think we can say pretty confidently that there is a deeper organizational issue here. I don't know if I really can describe in any detail what the organizational problem is or how to fix it. If I could, the Diamondbacks probably would have hired me by now. I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, it's no secret, Jack. This organization has not developed starting pitching in particular, or really relief pitching that matter, for a long time. I mean, Brandon Pfaadt and Ryan Nelson are, kind of by far the two most promising starting pitchers to come up through, to be drafted by the organization, come up through the organization and find, some success in the big leagues. Looking over the past decade or so, like those are the two names that are probably at the top of that list.
Yeah. I'm thinking about my manufacturing background that we'll get to in a moment. And I'm thinking about, Six Sigma and the investigations that are done in the business and manufacturing world. Not only in manufacturing is that applied, but, getting to root cause analysis and identifying the problem, getting to the root cause analysis, and then how to identify the problems. And I wonder if something along those lines is what's required, system-wide, top-down, because it's all integrated. It's all part of the same package, whether it's evaluation of talent on the free agent market, via trade, draft, international signings, how they're being developed, what the programs are, how the medical staff works together with the player development and coaches in the major leagues as well to keep everybody healthy, all of that. Look, the injuries are, there's no way for me to objectively say this is so-and-so's fault and how do you blame?
Yeah.
If you go through, Fangraphs has a very detailed list, and you can go through there and pick all, not just current, injuries, and you start sorting by injury type, and then you can click on the column headers and get by position, and you can do a manual count and go and add up elbow injuries, forearm injuries, shoulder injuries, anything related to the arm and throwing of pitchers, and upper body, oblique, It's unbelievable. I mean, there's almost 200 injuries that have resulted in IL stints this year. Now, obviously, this slew of elbow injuries specifically and all the surgeries that have been required, it's a lot. But again, there's over 50 just this year alone on this year's injured list of pitchers with Tommy John surgery, just Tommy John surgery, and not all the other peripheral surgeries. So, yeah, it's not a great look for the Diamondbacks to have everybody get hurt all at once. And there may be some other underlying issues. Maybe it's usage patterns. It's very difficult, though, for us who, as close as we are to it, we're not in the nitty gritty. We don't have access to their very most exclusive, medical information. They don't hand us copies of their internal matrix of usage, and they chart everything, right? They chart every pitch thrown in the bullpen, every pitch thrown on the mound, every pitch thrown in the game. How much gym work they did, everything that they did, everything that they eat. I mean, they come to the ballpark early in the day so that they can eat the right foods that the team wants them to eat, and then they record exactly what they're eating and track. I mean, everything is tracked to an unbelievable degree, and it's not doing them any good. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's because their system doesn't work. I think it's because pitchers are throwing too many breaking pitches, too many sliders and cutters. They're working too hard to create too much spin. Maybe they're changing their mechanics and pitching labs that over a drive line. They're pitching max effort. The kids are pitching all the time, all year round, from the time they're 8 years old. And those are the reasons why. And I don't think anything that you do without changing the underlying incentive to this being such a power game, power pitching, power curveball, power slider, power home runs. If you don't fix the underlying incentives to play that kind of baseball, nothing's going to change. I've written articles. I've talked about it on the show. I think there are solutions, but I don't think any of them are ever going to be implemented because baseball is totally addicted to power baseball.
It's interesting, Jack, that for a while and maybe this is still true to a degree, a criticism of this pitching staff, this whole organization when it comes to pitching, is they didn't have enough stuff. They didn't have as much power stuff as a lot of other teams around the league. And then I think we're kind of seeing the ugly side of that now. Justin Martinez and AJ Puck are your 8th and 9th inning guys. They're as dominant as any duo in the game. And they're both having elbow surgery. At least we think, right? Puck is not official, but it feels sort of unofficially official. I think that's just part of the game at this point. It's not a D-back specific issue. It's a baseball wide issue. And there's just so much randomness, and how many guys does this team have on the IL versus this team? Right now the D-backs are certainly not in a great spot themselves, but I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary compared to what's happening across all of Major League Baseball right now.
Agreed.
Well, we have one more mailbag question. This might be the most important one, Jack. This comes from our buddy Ryan Sprouse over on Twitter. I asked this in one of the video comments, which we did see, Ryan. Thank you for that as well. But what's the origin story for Shoe Wizard 59? This is, of course, Jack's Twitter handle. How did that Twitter handle come about, and what's the meaning behind shoes and wizards and 59? Jack, I will give the floor to you.
I went to Asia as a very young man, first to teach English. And then as I started a family, I wanted to get into manufacturing and export. I was living in Taiwan at the time, and I got into the footwear industry, manufacturing and sourcing. Worked my way up through that industry, spent over 20 years doing that. I came back to the United States in 2000, and back then I was, establishing email addresses on, first it was Hotmail, then it was Gmail, and also setting up usernames on discussion boards. And maybe I was a little proud of my footwear industry prowess. So Shoe Wizard is the handle I came up with. When I switched from Hotmail to Gmail. I couldn't use Shoe Wizard. It was taken already. So I added 59. I'm 65 years old. So that's the year I was born. And it's just that simple. I got into baseball work in 2006 is when I started working in baseball. I started in the Diamondbacks broadcast booth doing stats and scorekeeping and support of the on-air talent, and also providing pregame and pre-series scouting reports, statistical scouting reports. That segued into a position in the Diamondbacks front office as an analyst. And I worked in the Diamondbacks front office for 2.5 years. And then I decided to go back to Asia and make some more money because the financial crisis and real estate downturn in 2009 and 10 kind of put a dent in some of my other revenue streams. So I went back to Asia for 6 years, and then I came back in 2016. So that's my resume or my story.
There's Jack's life story in a nutshell. There we go. We love that. Jack, how have we not gotten you a shoe deal yet? Like there has to be like a Shoe Wizard shoe that has your signature or something on it. We'll have to make that happen.
Well, I could probably have some of my buddies in the industry, go ahead and make up something, custom pair or two here or there. Sure.
There we go. Yeah, they'd be flying off the shelves, Jack. We'll have to get on that. All right. Well, before we finish things out, we did want to give an update on All-Star Game voting. We just got the first round of updates from MLB here on Monday, so we'll roll through those real quick. Ketel Marte has the early lead at second base. As you can see here, 850,000 votes for Ketel. He is really far and away the front runner there. Tommy Edman behind him of the Dodgers at 510,000 votes. Then Nico Horner in third place at 354,000. That is, frankly, as it should be. Ketel Marte is the best second baseman in the sport, and it really is not even close, at least in the National League in particular this year. I'll roll through these other ones here real quick. Third base, Manny Machado currently is out front with 955,000 votes. I think that one's pretty much a done deal. He's probably going to start the All-Star game at third base. Max Muncy is there in second place at 415. And then Geno Suárez is in third place there at 290,000. And then one more that's relevant from the D-backs perspective, the outfield. Corbin Carroll is in fifth place, trailing Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle Tucker, Teoscar Hernandez, and Juan Soto. That last one there, Jack, you can deal with Manny Machado starting at third base if you're a D-backs fan. I think that's pretty fair and obvious. Corbin Carroll should probably be higher than fifth, which is where he stands right now.
Unfortunately, he's been slumping for a while, right? When he gets his hits, they've been for extra bases. He's hit his home runs and he's hit his triples, but he's batting .253 and he's striking out quite a bit. And, people see that. Look, if his batting average was up around 290 and his OPS was 950, fans would see that too. They on the ballot, they put the batting average number and they put the OPS number. So they're seeing those. And it's impacting. And the other thing, obviously, is that Cubs and Dodgers fans are dominating the voting.
No surprises there.
Tommy Edman and Teoscar Hernandez, that's Dodger fan votes. And, in order to overcome that, you have to be really at or near the top. And, as much as we love Corbin, and he's a fantastic ball player, and, I wouldn't want to trade him for all the tea in China. But the bottom line is he's been slumping for a while, over a month, and that's going to impact the All-Star voting.
Corbin is hitting 183 in his last 25 games. As you said, still some power there. He's slugging 473 in that span. But yeah, that batting average has dipped quite a bit. Looking again at those outfield numbers, I think Kyle Tucker and Pete Crow Armstrong, you can understand those guys being where they are. Tucker has had a better season than Corbin offensively at this point, and Pete Crow Armstrong with everything he does in the outfield as well, on top of also having a great offensive season. It's hard to argue with that. Juan Soto and Corbin Carroll, I think their numbers are pretty similar at this point. But yeah, Teoscar Hernandez should not be third on that list. So I think if anything, Corbin definitely has a case to jump over Teoscar Hernandez. Him and Juan Soto now are pretty close. So I don't think even in the perfect just world that Corbin would be a lock to start the All-Star game in the outfield. So still early. If you're a D-backs fan, be sure to keep casting those votes. Still a ways to go here in that process. Before we finish things off here, Jack, the Diamondbacks are getting ready to take on the Toronto Blue Jays out in Toronto. The series runs Tuesday through Thursday. The Blue Jays have had a decent year. They are 38-33 entering the series. As you see here on the screen, they have achieved perfect equilibrium in that they have a 100 team OPS plus and a 100 team ERA plus. So perfectly league average, both offensively and pitching wise. But they've been playing some good baseball here lately as they've won 12 of their last 17 games.
Yeah, except they were just swept by the Phillies and outscored 22-6. I mean, they had won 8 of 10 in June, and they got swept the last 3. So, maybe the worm is turned with regards to that, and the Phillies did us a favor and knocked them into a slump, and the D-backs can help keep them in that spot. Tough series. The last time they went to Toronto was 2023. They lost 3 in a row.
Yeah. They took 2 out of 3 from Toronto last year at Chase Field. That was kind of the beginning of the turning point of the Diamondbacks season. I remember that Blue Jays series being kind of a significant moment for them right before the All-Star break. I think they won the first 2 games of the series, almost came back and made an absurd comeback to win the last game of that series. Couldn't quite finish it, but obviously they played really well from that point to mostly to the end of the season. We all know what happened there in the last week or two. Pitching matchups for this series, Jack, it's Brandon Pfaadt against Chris Bassett on Tuesday, Eduardo Rodriguez against TBD, although we maybe think that will be Eric Lauer. According to the MLB app, though, when I just checked, they had it listed as TBD. And then Ryan Nelson going against Kevin Gausman in the finale of the series on Thursday. So D-backs are getting both Bassett and Gausman in the series, probably the 2 best pitchers in that Blue Jays rotation.
Yeah, it was interesting. While writing my series preview for Diamondbacks on SI, I noted that Bassett has 60 wins since 2021, and that's third amongst all major league pitchers in wins. And look, we're kind of advanced, analytics dudes, and the pitcher win isn't the be all end all in our methods of analysis. But over a 4 or 5 year span, if you're racking up a lot of wins, if we're not just talking about one season, it means you've been very durable and you've been effective and keeping your team in the game. And so it's still a metric that has some validity when you're looking out over a 5 year period. The only pitchers in Major League Baseball that have more wins over the last 4.5 seasons are Framber Valdez and our good buddy over in Philadelphia there, Zach Wheeler. So, and they have 62. So he's been a very effective pitcher. He's 7-3 this year. Kevin Gausman's got 57 wins. He's only 3 behind. He got Cy Young votes 3 straight years. Last year and a half, he hasn't quite been up to that level. He's been kind of more league average, but it's been feast or famine for him. He has 6 outings where it's giving up 2 runs or less, but he's also got a couple outings where he gave up 6 and a couple more where he gave up 4. So his ERA plus is just a little over 100. It's rough, I think it's a 4.0 something ERA. So it's roughly league average, but Kevin Gausman's absolutely capable of going out there and giving you 7 scoreless anytime he hits the mound.
Dalton Varsho, old friend, unfortunately is on the injured list, so I don't think we will see him in this series. But should be a fun 3-game set in Toronto. We will be live, as we said yesterday. We will be live after the Wednesday game of the series, and then also live again after the series finale on Thursday. So we hope that you will join us then. We did it, Jack. We got through all the mailbag questions. This might go down as the longest show in Snakes territory history, but it's okay. There was a lot of ground to cover. We appreciate you all for sticking with us. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are marching toward 1,000. We're getting kind of close here in the mid 800s. So if you'll help us out there, we really appreciate it. Drop a like on this video, leave a comment. We always love hearing from you. You can find us over on social media. I am at Jesse N. Friedman. Jack is at ShoeWizard59, and the show is at Snakes Territory. And of course, you can always find Jack's outstanding written coverage of the team over at si.com/MLB/Diamondbacks. Jack, anything else before we say goodbye?
I have tasks for our listeners. Number one, definitely subscribe. Number two, definitely go and vote again. The Phase 1 voting for the All-Star game ends on June 26th, so you can still get in there and pop in your votes.
Well, you heard the man, everyone. You have homework. Jack just gave you all homework. There's gonna be a quiz on the next show somehow. We're gonna check if you did it. But yes, we appreciate you as always for being here with us, and we'll be back with another episode of Snakes Territory on Wednesday.